Ready for the show? I'm ready to start.
10, 9, ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11. Tower clear.
Welcome to ET First Contact Radio, my friends from all over the world and the universe and beyond. Today my guest is Patricia Cori, and Patricia and I met several times in Crop Circle Country, Wiltshire, United Kingdom, where the mysteries began and where the mysteries will never end. And Patricia and I have met several times in the Crop Circle Country. Well, this year is a special year, I think, because the Emissary is being very well received by the first comments that are on the back of the book. So before you wrote The Emissary, you were kind of in the background. So what happened to you to get the inspiration to write this book?
Well, I wasn't necessarily in the background. I just was shifting, and I became very involved with the whales and dolphins. There is a committee of whales and dolphins that sits on the Syrian High Council. So in 2000 and, oh boy, I can't remember.
2009?
2009?
I think.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I started getting direct contact from this council or committee of whales. and it became very dominant in my life. I started going out to the whales on boats and became rather obsessed with communicating with the cetaceans and their significance as galactic messengers and weavers of light and sound on the planet. And I've been working with them diligently actually since then. Actually, before the Emissary came out, Before We Leave You, Messages from the Whales and the
Oh
Dolphins,
yes, I remember. Yeah, Before We Leave You.
which was a totally channeled information from them. And then, well, I woke up one morning and I was guided that it was time to write a movie.
Right.
And I didn't know why the council would be giving me such a strange directive. So I did my control and made sure that I was getting higher information because you know those astral beings, they like to play with your ego.
Oh yes, they do.
And yeah, it's time to you need to bring through this information, but to a bigger audience, to a higher capacity, and we want you to write a movie. So with no experience, it's kind of a funny story.
It is.
I woke up and I looked on the internet how to write a screenplay, and I picked up some very elementary information, and I set off to write this story, The Emissary. I had nothing in mind. It wasn't like I had already a story in my mind, and I had never written fiction, so I'm used to sitting down and receiving as a channel and then bringing forward that information. But The Emissary was just a creative process, full of the same information, woven into a fictional story.
That's beautiful because I just had words from you when we were sitting down earlier that you actually had positive news about people in Hollywood who want to bring out the movie.
Yeah, the screenplay was barely completed, and I was very fortunate. I was picked up right away. The story was picked up right away by a Hollywood producer, and they are working on it now, and we're getting very close to a deal where the movie will start to go into production. So what happened was my publisher said, "Where are you? You're quiet," because I produce a book a year. "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I just wrote a screenplay." And they said, "Okay, let us read it." And they loved it, so they asked me to write the novel. So between the screenplay and the novel, I was writing a lot. But it's really interesting because the screenplay comes first, then the novel, and that's backwards, which is my style.
Right, and the novel is written in a third person. You're talking about a person in the book.
It's a story.
It's a story. And what is this person experiencing in the book?
All right, the story of the Emissary, briefly, goes like this. The story starts out with three incidents occurring simultaneously on the planet. In Los Angeles, and we'll call them vignettes. So the first vignette is a man is coming home from work, and he pulls into his street. He stops to chat with a neighbor, making small talk, and boom, 600 blackbirds drop dead around them. Dead, all dead. I mean, it's not like dying, dead on arrival. And of course, this has happened.
It is, yes, it has, yes.
And then we cut to another vignette, which is in Maine, on the east coast of the United States. It's simultaneously, a woman goes out to her backyard to take her kids out for a walk on the beach. And she is the first to see, as far as the eye can see, the beach is strewn with dead fish. I mean, just tens of thousands of dead fish.
That's the second person.
That's the second vignette. And so she grabs her kids and she runs back inside. And I cut to a third vignette. And this is on the other side of the planet in New Zealand. A woman who's the heroine of the story, her name is Jamie Hastings. She's there. She's a leading psychic in the United States. And she's getting away from the weight of this work that she does for the police department, for corporate and whatever. And she's just there to heal. And she wakes up, and there are 150 dead whales and dolphins on the beach, dead and dying. So she goes to help, and she has, as this one mother whale is dying, very pregnant humpback, Jamie makes soul connection with this whale and helps her over the bridge. And this sets up the story. And meanwhile, this part of the vignettes ends with we cut to a scene in Alaska. As far as the eye can see, towers and electrical looking antenna And the point of that is that HARP
Mhm.
has triggered these three events. That's how the story starts.
Well, that's very fascinating. We have Patricia Cori live from the barge in my car. We have to do what we can to continue this interview, be creative with technology. So we were at the book where you described those three characters in the beginning that encountered or that experienced that birds falling out of the sky and that whales in New Zealand.
Yeah.
So continue about that story.
Well, basically, the story is about a woman who is the protagonist is Jamie, who I mentioned before, and she becomes very involved with the whales and wants to pursue helping them, which has been described as a little bit of an autobiographical thing
Right.
at the beginning. And she gets contacted by an oil company who hears about her incredible precision ability to even locate oil.
Wow.
She locates oil in Pakistan. So this oil executive from Texas contacts her and says, I tell you what, we've got an exclusive for 2 years out on the Pacific Ocean. And if you will come and help me locate oil, we can actually help the whales. And she says, explain to me how helping you, the enemy, is going to help the whales. And he says, well, if you help us, we won't dredge up the ocean floor. We want to go in there. And he says, look, somebody's going to go in there. We can do this with your help and do the least amount of damage. And she agrees to go. And very soon in the story, she starts to hear messages from the whales. And their message is, please help us. The sonar is killing them. And a very intricate plot evolves of why these whales are contacting her and what they know and what they're protecting. And what they're protecting is, I should not give the story away, but there is a colony, an alien colony underwater.
Right.
And so it's got a little bit of everything.
Mm-hmm.
The NSA, HARP, an alien base underwater. It's an adventurous thriller, an echo thriller.
Yeah.
And of course, because my alien connection,
Your connection to the
alien,
amongst others, the Syrian High Council.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But bringing forward that information of a potential civilization on this planet of alien beings who are light beings is a story that I want to keep bringing forward.
Because I think it's not only very important, but I think it's right that we know this information.
Well, we hear so much about the dark forces and the dark alien colonies underground or whatever, and it's without wanting to get too woo-woo, we do also need to contemplate, all right, what about the other side of the pole, and what forces are working with us, and if there are aliens that are of the higher vibration, how are they connected with the Earth, and what danger are they in? How can we connect with them? So I've brought through a lot of that information that I work with, but I've used the novel as a vehicle to be able to reach more people, skeptics, and people who are not necessarily open to hearing it any other way.
Because I think because it's in the form of a thriller, people will find it a very exciting story, and by reading the adventures of the main characters, they learn the information about the alien bases and about the sonars and about all the things that are happening in the oceans. So can you explain a bit what is happening in the oceans with the whales? Because I think it's really a drama that those animals are dying. I know it's an emotional question, but I think it's also good to be emotional about it and to share with the listeners what is happening in the deep seas.
I never hide my emotion. I'm very much in touch with it, and have no problem feeling pain and joy. So I bring that through in all of my work. In this story, well, you wanted to know about the whales and dolphins. Here's the situation. We have 30 years ago, Jacques Cousteau said the oceans are dying. 90% of the oceans are dying. And here we are 30 years later. He may have overstated his case then, but the truth is, between radiation, bombs, pollution, plastic, and a very threatening situation, which is the sonar that's being used in the ocean, we are seeing mass die-offs of fish, dolphins, starfish are turning into plasma. There is a huge disaster going on in the oceans, and I'm talking about it to everyone I can.
Which is very good because we need to know this information. And I understand that those sonars that those undersea vessels are using are operating at the same frequency as the dolphins are communicating with each other.
Not necessarily. I can't confirm or deny that, but what I can tell you is it's so excruciating. The Navy is using very powerful sonar, and it is literally blowing their brains out. You've got dolphins and whales washing up with their blood coming out of their mouths and eyes and blowholes, and they are actually having their brains blown out by the intensity of these sounds. Because remember, we're in water here, so when sound moves through water, it creates a pressure field, right?
Indeed, yes.
And these animals have very immense and developed oral cavities. When that pressure moves in, it is excruciatingly painful. And a lot of them are washing up dead. This is affecting their mating syndromes. It's affecting their migratory patterns. It's absolutely a life and death situation for the whales and dolphins at this time.
It is. By the way, you mentioned Jacques Cousteau, who was a explorer in the oceans, and actually Vangelis, who is a great musician, made an album called Cousteau, and it's about the oceans, and it's starting with Indonesia, which is Indonesia in French, and I think we're just gonna listen to a little bit of his music. It's a short track. It's called La Cœur de la Mer, which means the heart of the sea. And I think doing this interview with you about um, the book that you wrote, The Emissary, because it's about the ocean, it's about the dolphins. I think this music is really connecting the dots and giving us the right emotions that are involved in the suffering, but also the savior, because we need to do something to save those animals. And they're not just animals; they are very high conscious, loving beings. So here is La Cœur de la Mer from Vangelis, from the album Cousteau. Amazing music from Vangelis. Patricia and I are talking about her new book and The Emissary. So the life in the oceans from the dolphins and the whales, they have a connection with Sirius, haven't they?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think I understand that there is a committee of whales and dolphins that sits on the Syrian High Council,
Mm-hmm.
and they have identified themselves to me as the Kikwaki.
Kikwaki?
Kikwaki.
Yeah.
And this information is in before we leave you.
Oh, right, yeah.
And they are talking about how whales and dolphins on in 3D are already highly evolved beings, and then there are also whales and dolphins on many stations of the, let's say, the multidimensional universe.
Right.
They're multi-dimensional beings. They also exist on other planets, and they exist in higher dimensions. And there are several of them at that level of consciousness. The sixth Sirius B ascended because Sirius B, before it ascended, had aquatic planets.
Aquatic planets, like water worlds.
Yeah. And many of them are from that star system.
Well, when I swim in the ocean, Patricia, when I'm underwater, I feel connected to the dolphins. I do swim a lot when I'm in my home area in the Netherlands. And when I'm underwater, I feel the connection with Mother Earth, with planet Gaia, and with all the creatures in the sea. You feel this oneness, feeling of oneness. Well, I'm also a water sign astrologically, but I feel so much love from the sea, from the water around you.
Well, if you consider that understanding that Earth is a living, conscious being, Gaia,
Mm-hmm.
then it makes, and we know about the elements and how they correspond to different energies. So water is emotion.
It is.
So the oceans are the emotional body of this planet, of Gaia. And when we are really immersed in the water, which is a different, how often are we really immersed in the ocean?
Mm-hmm.
We are experiencing a whole nother world, a whole nother vibration frequency of harmonics and music.
Indeed, because water is also a conductor of sound and light and information.
Exactly, very much so.
Yeah. So, because it's a conductor, we need really to change something about the military-industrial complex we're using war-mongering materials in the ocean and on the land. And you mentioned before when we had lunch that they want to start World War III because there's another plane missing, a Spanish plane. They shut down another plane last week, and a few days ago another plane crashed, I think in Korea. So how can we prevent a third world war? And the question is, are the benevolent ETs, the Syrians amongst others, are they going to intervene in our earthly situation?
Boy, those are some pretty complicated questions. How we
Right.
can prevent a third world war is the question of the hour.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't have an answer for that other than to say that, first of all, we need to be as much as possible aware of what's going on, because most people are so tired of bad news, tired of always hearing bad news, that we now have tuned out. We don't want to hear it. We don't want to talk about it. We're not going to talk about Gaza and the annihilation of a civilization.
Mm-hmm.
We're not talking about all of these things. And we don't want to talk about radiation. That's too scary. And so what I can say is one of the ways we prevent is by bringing truth as we understand it as much as possible out to the public. And as many people as possible become more aware and hopefully protest, even though protesting is being discouraged, let's put it that way, and make their voice heard and do what they can to raise the frequency on the planet.
We need to do something. We need to protect our planet and humanity and all life on Earth. And I'm calling out to all the listeners. I mean, what can we do? Because if we protest violently on the streets, we'll be knocked down by the police. So we need to intelligently do something to oust those beings out of power.
Well, for starters, violent anything is not going to work. We know that. So violent protesting only incurs violence, and it's self-defeating completely. But there are people doing wonderful work.
Yeah. Oh, well.
I'm caught off guard with the picture being taken. Okay, take the picture.
Take the picture.
Take the picture.
Because we are doing a live interview, and this is going to be the announcement for the show.
Okay.
Thank you, Wouter. Okay, Wouter is listening in. He is an amazing guy. He's sitting next to us, and we have so much attention from lightworkers around the world. You're doing so much good work with your books, Patricia.
Thank you.
There's so many people out there that are doing the work, that are walking their talk, that are spreading the information. So don't give up spreading information, and send emails with information about, for example, the book from Patricia, or videos about Roswell to the mainstream media. Bombard them with emails. Don't give up, and be a light worker, be a light warrior, and get the truth out there.
And it's also a matter of being discerning, because we all think we know the truth. Truth can not necessarily, it can be elusive. And so as much as possible, we need to.
Yeah, we need to.
We
need a wire for the hook up to another electricity source. So Patricia, what other options are there to wake people up worldwide so that we can get the truth to the people?
Yeah, we were talking about, we can't be the owners of truth. We have to, in integrity, say that this is how I perceive, this is what I understand, and then it's up to the individual to discern what truth is. But one thing we know for a fact is truth is not on the mainstream media.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
So for starters, the fact that you're doing what you're doing and I'm doing what I'm doing, and in an attempt to bring truth as we understand it, but at least another view of what is really happening on this planet. And I think that one of the very interesting developments, and you know all about this, is that the disclosure is not going to happen. It's not going to be Obama or any other world leader standing up and saying, okay, we're ready to tell you there are UFOs in our breakfast chambers, but rather we're being massaged into accepting this every day. The disclosure is underway. 10 years ago, maybe a few more than that, let's say 15, 20 years ago, I can't do the history, Bill Clinton came out and talked about the bacteria in a Martian rock. Remember that?
I do, yes.
And it was like, what? No way! It's an anomaly. It's whatever. Because at that time, the measure for public opinion measured that it was simply impossible to put that across to people, or that they weren't ready, or they didn't feel, because there's another whole theory that they didn't feel, the powers that be, that Bill Clinton was the one to bring it out. And there are some people who also think that the whole Monica Lewinsky scandal was developed to keep Bill Clinton quiet on that point.
For sure about it.
Needless to say, years later, instead of talking about the possibility of bacteria in a Martian rock, every day we hear more. There's water on the moon. There's water on Mars. 2 days ago, they said, we now think it's possible for humans to live inside caves on the moon. And, you know, nobody is saying, what? It's just we're being massaged every day, every hour to embrace this reality. So if you said 10 years ago or 15 years ago, we think humans can live in caves, you would have been put away or shot. But with this progress of disclosure happening every day, we embrace the idea there could be water on Mars. We did moon. We're now being told that in 2015 they're going to start commercial flights. Are you aware of this? Commercial.
Yes, I am.
I think Virgin Airways is doing a space program. They're talking about colonizing the moon in a few years. 2025, Mars will be colonized. Now, you and I know, and I brought this through in Cosmos of Soul.
Yes, I do.
15
I
years
remember,
ago,
yes.
that the moon and Mars are already inhabited, and these guys are all set up.
Yes.
But nonetheless, what I'm conveying here is that now the mass mind there's no more real resistance. If you talk about the moon and water on the moon or Mars, people don't think you're out of your mind. So this is a gradual process, and it's peaking right now. And I believe that we are looking at a very short time span when we're going to have presence. Intervention? I'm not sure. Presence. That in itself is intervention.
It is, yeah.
But when the reality of our being part of a galactic federation is common knowledge, then we've got some issues. And I'd like to elaborate this.
All right, very good.
There is the camp of people that believe that good ETs are going to come and they're going to intervene and they're going to save us and they're going to show us the way. And there are, of course, the others who are talking about the Nordics and the underground greys and all of the violent intentions they have for the human race, hybrids, all that. And there are the skeptics, a number of people, but most people have an opinion about this on some level. My opinion, and again, I like to always say that it's my truth. It doesn't mean that necessarily anyone else has to embrace it. But my understanding is that when we do have this presence undeniable, it's not just going to be a party where the good ETs come and save human beings and everybody's celebrating and the spiritual people are saved and taken on a mothership to some other planet to destroy. But rather, we are going to have to face up to a galactic standard. It's just going to be, okay, you Earth people, until now, you have been successful in destroying yourselves and your planet. But now, you're going to have to start to learn to play by the rules. And in the goodness of a higher civilization involving itself with the Earth, I do believe there's also going to be a presence, not unlike Captain Kirk and his team, where this is the Galactic Federation standard, and the warring and the violence is going to have to go. So I think that it's not just going to be a cakewalk. I think we're going to be facing a benevolent, organized community of conscious worlds that have learned how to survive without killing everything in sight, and that it will not be as easy as we'd like to think it will be, but it will be immense.
And they will then be able to educate us with their ethics and their ways of exploring space in a civilized way. So I
Exactly.
think we can learn a lot from them.
Absolutely. And one of the things that we will learn is that oil and the sucking of all of the resources out of the planet is the destruction of the planet. We are the most stupid beings when it comes to our resources, because by using them up, we are marking our destruction. And we know that this is because a handful, and my books talk about 2,000 rulers on this planet, the hidden, who are sucking up all this oil for whatever idea there is of such wealth and power, and that this has to stop. We know that we can power this planet. How many times over with solar energy?
Oh yeah, or with 0 point energy, even better.
Or with so many other kinds of energy. Yeah. And in fact, I just recently saw somebody put a beautiful map on the internet, and it was the continent of Africa, and it showed 3 little squares.
I've seen
it. It said the entire planet could be energized by this much solar power. We have it. We have every kind of alternative, and of course, we all know that it's being blocked by these reptilians, if you want to call them, oligarchs, the ruling dark ones, who need to be richer, need to be more powerful. And I just don't know what you can do with all that wealth and power, but their vision is that.
Well, I have received intel from several sources, amongst David Wilcock, Benjamin Fulford, Cobra, Alkesh, and others, that there are actually now cats in the dark that almost have no options left, and they're really very soon will be ousted out of power, and then a new world government with enlightened people will take over. But what's your take on that?
Well, that is a utopic concept, and I wish it for us. I do also see that they are so desperate. The incrementation of all of this dark agenda is at a breaking point. So exasperated beyond anything that's manageable. And there is this infighting and warring between them. But I don't necessarily buy into the idea that it's bye-bye for them and all things will be perfect. I think we've got a lot to struggle with still, and that's part of the immensity of this incredible time of change. And they're not going to go out without a fight.
Indeed.
But out they will go.
They will, yes, indeed.
For eons of time, the Messiah, Jesus Christ, nobody's got to come and fix us. We are here to be guardians for this planet, to evolve in a difficult school, and we need to fix it, don't we?
We do.
And if we don't fix it,
that's why we incarnated here, right, at this time to do this job.
So when we talk about the good ETs coming, it makes me laugh, because it's another Messiah profile that we've been abandoning, thinking that we're New Age people, we're spiritual people, we don't adhere to the religion, let's say the restrictions of religion, and yet here we are recreating another Messiah mentality. And as long as we do that, we are substantially disempowered. So I am a warrior, I acknowledge that, and I want to be empowered, and I want people to be empowered. And the first thing that we need to do, in my opinion, is to let go of they're going to come save us, and get to work on this planet, on ourselves, to make this planet a better world, and to hopefully shift the agenda that we see folding on this planet.
Because we are doing this together. We as humanity, we as awakened people. I call myself a light warrior on Facebook. That's my job. That's why I incarnated here. That's why I do this radio show. That's why I used to shout when I was just starting, But
I remember.
you remember. But right now, I want to give the information to the people. It's a free service, and I also need donations. You can donate on my website, intergalacticradiostation.com. And Patricia, I know that you have a website called, um, well, what was it? The Syrian High Council.net?
No, it's Syrian Revelations.
Oh, SyrianRevelations.net. Yes, I remember. But now I think you have a second website that has to do with the Emissary, your new book.
I have a few websites.
Right.
So there's SyrianRevelations.net. There's patriciacori.com, which needs to be updated dramatically.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a website for the Emissary called theemissary.net or theemissary.info.
.info, yeah. So we have about 25 minutes left for the interview. So where do you want to spend time on talking about disclosure and the process that's going on with the Earth and politics and the oceans? Or do you want to spread light on your new book and how this new movie that will be produced very soon is going to come out?
Well, I appreciate your generosity in wanting to talk about the book, but as you said, maybe after you've read it in depth, we can really dive into it, no pun intended. And since we are in the middle of crop circle land and both of us very intrigued by UFO, ET, and multidimensional consciousness, I think we might want to go there.
All right, so let's speak about multidimensionality. The last few days I have felt really special with the weather by visiting a crop circle yesterday, and as you mentioned already in 2010, I think the crop circle phenomenon is dying out, and we are going to see other signs in the skies and in other ways. Ships will be displaying themselves to humanity. So how do you think this is going to evolve further?
Well, back then, as you remember, I told you watch for spirals in the sky, and we got that Norway spiral.
Mm-hmm.
And this whole drama unfolding with the crop circle community, I'm sad to see it. Human ego and conflict involved in something that was so monumental, so sacred, so joyful
Mm-hmm.
as those early years. And starting for me was 1996 was my first crop circle. Talk about starting with a bang at the Julia set in right next to the Stonehenge. And I came up this year because I wanted to see Charles Mallet, who is outside getting black in the sun, and visit my friend Nick and visit you and feel the buzz.
Mm-hmm. Charles was on the show 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, that's good. He was on my show too. But I don't feel the buzz. I can just pretend, but I'm not the type. I don't feel the buzz. I usually every year for 18 years, I've come running up to the crop circles and seen as many as possible. And this year, they don't speak to me.
No.
They just don't speak to me. And 2 years ago, I started telling people that I was hearing from the council that it was coming to an end, and that this phase of communication, this phase of waking up those who could hear, would evolve into the next phase, being diagrams, lights in the sky, not just craft, the spirals, our ability to see more wormholes and things like that. This is starting to happen.
Phenomena.
Yeah. And it's starting to happen. And so I will, to my dying days, keep one foot in the door in the crop circle world. But I think that we are now moving into a phase where we can talk beyond sacred geometry, beyond symbols, and we have to discern what they mean. It was all very exciting. But now I think that we are getting to the phase where we're going to be, in a sense, welcoming energy forms into our reality, whether those are craft, whether those are light beings. I think that we are feeling the veils come down. I personally think we've already moved partially into the fourth dimension.
I do, yeah. And some people and some parts of the planet already maybe in the fifth.
I'd like to know where that is. I'll go there and play.
I have the feeling I had a vision when I was 17 that this will happen in Peru, in Machu Picchu.
Really?
Yes. And I've planned a journey to go to Peru next year, and I'm going to find out.
Well, I was in Peru a couple of years ago, and I didn't have a very exciting time there. There's a lot of positioning. There are all these makeshift shamans,
Hmm.
and the struggle to keep out Monsanto is a big one. The struggle for the people to keep the purity of their agriculture. There's a lot of stuff going on there. But one interesting thing is that the Tibetans have moved there.
I do. Yeah.
And so I think Drumbelow brought through
They're gonna follow. Yeah.
this
They're gonna follow,
information
yeah,
about
and
the shifting of the
the
serpent.
serpent of light. Yeah.
And that is exciting. And when I was there, I saw droves of llamas around, and I thought, oh, okay. Having been twice in Tibet before the absolute takeover by the Chinese, that energy is incredible.
Right.
And so the fact that they're moving there, that really speaks oceans to me, and I think you may be onto something.
Well, the vision I want to explain you. When I was 17, I was laying down in my bed and I saw a forest with trees, and I looked beyond the trees and I saw a sunset with an orange light, very beautiful. And then I walked out of the forest towards the sunlight, and I saw the sun setting in the valley of Machu Picchu, and on the inclines of the mountains around it were sitting thousands of people with candles, and they were all singing, and just right above the valley appeared a rainbow-colored spacecraft that slowly hovered down, and that for me was a sign of first contact. Now that was back in 1994. In the same year, in 1994, Martin Goodall, who's a musician from Cornwall, who makes beautiful new age music, just brought out the album called Nazca, Land of the Incas. And so it's all connecting. My vision happened that year, in '94. Martin Goodall brought out a CD, and after 2012, the vision came back about Machu Picchu and the inclines where the people were sitting and having a special celebration. So I don't know when this is going to happen, but I feel I'm part of it. I will
Well,
be
it's
part
exciting.
of it.
Good
Yeah,
for you.
yeah.
I want to bring in the question of sacred sites because I
Mhm.
spend a lot of time traveling around this planet going to them. Egypt being my number one, I would imagine, as far as my passion and the experiences I have there. And Peru. I've been to Peru 3 times now. But I think it's very exciting that we're seeing much more ET connections at the sacred sites.
Indeed. Yeah.
So I was telling you at lunch, I think, that did I tell you about the 50 people in Hatshepsut Temple?
I think I was just inside ordering coffee.
Right. I'll make it quick. In 2012 2011 I did an 11-11-11 tour in Egypt,
Mhm.
and we had the Hatshepsut Temple at 4 in the morning alone in the desert. And after I conducted the ceremony, I asked everybody to lie down and look up, and I called in craft. And we got instantly a craft appeared in the sky. I mean, not close enough to identify it as a ship, but let's say a very bright light, popped up and started traveling across the sky. And somebody in the group said, "No way! That has to be the International Space Station." It's really funny when you experience a phenomenon. It's your left brain tries to break it down
Mhm.
because you can't understand what you're seeing.
Mhm.
As this continued, when he said it's got to be the international spacecraft, it took a 90-degree angle, and everybody went, and it took another 90-degree angle, and I'm talking 90 degrees, boom, boom, and then on it went, continued across the sky. And of course, 50 people saw it. No, one person. I told everybody to keep their eyes open, and one person went into deep meditation, and she missed it. She's still unhappy about that. And so as this thing continued to travel across the sky, the buzz was so exciting. Can you imagine? We all were there. Someone said, "Oh my God, that was amazing!" And I said, "They're not done yet. Hold on." Bing! Another light appears in the sky where this other one was traveling to the other horizon.
Mhm.
Another light appeared and crossed past it and started traveling back in the opposite direction. It did spirals, zigzags. It was performing for us,
Wow.
and everybody saw it.
And you said there were 50 witnesses.
49. One of them was asleep. So 49 people. In fact, I asked them, please sign an affidavit that you were there when we deliberately called craft We asked for contact, and they came and they put on a show for us.
That's brilliant.
And I got these affidavits, and one of them said, "I lost my virginity with Patricia Cori." But it was very exciting to be in a situation where 50 undeniable 50 people, the idea that we called them rather than somebody saw it happen, we called them. I said, "Please come. You've given me so much. Please appear for them."
Yes.
That fast. 2 seconds later it appeared. And this happened also in Peru. The reason why I'm telling this story is because I think that these sacred sites are now being, let's say, pinpointed, or they are points of reference for beings that are trying to make contact. Definitely. And by the way, I'd like to announce that I'm taking a group to Egypt February 4th to 15th in 2015. And on this occasion, we will do everything possible to call them back.
So how can people contact you if they want to go with the group?
They should contact me at Patricia J. Cori at gmail.com.
Right. Okay. So it's a very exciting time we are living in, and so many things are happening. And well, going to Egypt is actually very tempting.
Well, come on.
Yeah.
I'll hold on to you. I'll hold on to your ankles so you don't fly through a Stargate or something there.
Oh yeah, something will happen, I'm sure. Yeah.
Well, I've been taking people to Egypt for, oh my gosh, I can't even remember anymore. I had 20 trips.
20 already?
I think. And every time, it's people describe it as a life-altering experience.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons is because I take people in the middle of the night. Nobody else does this. I take people to the pyramid at 4 a.m. And the experience of walking onto the Giza Plateau with nobody there. The bus shines the light so that we can walk across the rocky area. So it shines the light for us parked, and we see our bodies reflected up the pyramid wall because of the angle of the light.
Wow.
It is such a mystical experience. And of course, we don't need to talk about the pyramid and the fact that it is this incredible transporter room.
It is.
It's every time I have had occasion now where I bring people into the sarcophagus, because I managed to get everybody to have a moment in there, and some people just can't get back. They pop out of their body so quickly, they have trouble getting back. So it's a grueling task being the one that makes sure.
So when they are there, they have out-of-body experiences.
Many people, yeah.
In
the sarcophagus,
in the sarcophagus, yeah.
Which is described in my books as the transporter chariot. And the pyramid is a stargate. I'm going to use the language. The pyramid is a stargate. Abydos, a huge stargate. Abydos, supposedly Dan Burish said that's where J-Rod asked to be taken. You know J-Rod?
Yes.
J-Rod, silly question. Does he know J-Rod? J-Rod supposedly asked to be taken to Abydos, and that's how we walked through a tear in the universe and left.
It feels like a dream what you're telling me.
Come.
Yeah, I will.
The name of my trip is Through the Stargates Where Pharaohs Dwell.
And that's one of the titles of one of your books, Where Pharaohs Dwell.
Yes.
Patricia, I must tell you that I love you so deep for the amazing connection we have, the Syrian connection. You feel like my Syrian sister.
I am your Syrian sister.
Yeah.
And it was like that from the minute we met.
Right from the beginning.
Yeah.
And I feel that our friendship is strengthening, and that I think in the future, I just have a feeling very strong right now, an inspirational feeling that we'll do more, even more, to bring out the knowledge to the people. Me through my radio show, and you through your books, and the movie that will come out.
And the movie, which hopefully will go into production soon. Because what I can say is that the people that are reading The Emissary, many of them are writing to me saying, I had no idea of what's going on. I thank you for awakening me to this. What can I do? Many, many people are writing that. So when the movie comes out, imagine millions of people saying, what can we do? What can I do?
Because this is going to be a top production in Hollywood.
Well, they're shooting for an A-list director. I can't mention the actors. that they're approaching,
Mm-hmm.
but top level, the top A-list actors. And it's the question of how do you get them to sign up, and they want to know who the funding is. The funding one knows who they are. The
Mm-hmm.
director wants to know. It's just like it's the chicken and the egg problem. But we have the first big investor.
Mm-hmm.
They have. I'm not really part of all that. And it looks very promising that we could actually start production at the end of the year, and that would be very thrilling for me because as the screenwriter, I have a big voice on making sure that this doesn't get watered down into some Hollywood fantasy.
Indeed, because you are the screenwriter. That's the
Yeah,
amazing stuff. Because you wrote a novel, a thriller book, a thriller novel story, and at the same time, you also wrote the screenplay.
I wrote the screenplay first,
Yes, indeed.
and then my publisher said, "What are you up to? Why are you so quiet?" And when I told them I was just finishing up a screenplay, they said, "We'd like to read it." And they fell in love with it and said, "When are you going to give us a novel?" I was like, I'm dancing as fast as I can here, people. Give me a break. But I did. I wrote the novel rather quickly, in fact. And meanwhile, the screenplay got snatched up rather quickly by this Hollywood producer. They're called Global Universal Entertainment. And
Is that Universal Pictures?
no, Global Universal Entertainment is a separate
All right.
organization.
Mm-hmm.
And with any luck, this packaging, as they call it, will come together soon. But they are intent on it being a blockbuster movie, and that is
Oh.
very, very exciting.
Well,
And I just want to add that what you were saying, because I am the screenwriter, the screenwriter has a big voice in
oh yeah.
and you can't just change my story.
No,
Only the screenwriter can make the changes.
indeed.
So whereas sometimes Hollywood will buy a book rights, throw it at a screenplay and say, doctor this up and make it schmoozy, I'm the screenwriter. So anything that needs to be changed has to go through me. And the producer is intent upon keeping the integrity of the story.
Well, I'm looking forward to see the big commercials and the posters on the highway,
The
billboards, The Emissary in theaters, August 8, 2015.
I am looking forward to that too. Wouldn't
That
that
would
be
be
nice?
so amazing.
It would, and
Yeah.
it's going to be so great for the whales and dolphins because it really hits hard.
It will hit hard. It will touch many people and wake up many people. I know that for sure. I'm looking forward to that moment. So right now we have come to the end of this interview, and we will do a very interesting, in-depth interview very soon in a couple of weeks, after I will have read The Emissary completely and thoroughly, and I will ask very specific questions to you.
Okay.
My friends, this is ET First Contact Radio. I'm your host Martin Horst, bringing you the latest galactic news 3 times a week. My guest for next week will be Leia Weiser-Ibis on Monday, and she will talk about her experience with the Weiss-Ibis ship, the spaceship that is interdimensional, and so many other people will be on the show in the future. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is if you type Martin Horst or ET First Contact Radio in YouTube, you will find my channel, which is called Martin Horst, my first and last name. I do need donations, so please PayPal money to MAARTENHORST@ZEELandnet.nl. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for listening, for bringing this information about. Do share this YouTube version, my interview with Patricia Cori, my dear friend from Sirius. So thank you, Patricia, for being on the show.
Thank you, darling. It's been an honor.
I love you, and I
love
want
you
to
too.
thank you. And all the listeners from all over the world, keep spreading the word. Love and light, and namaste.